Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics as Non-Classics. This is episode number 1719 and Doubleshot number 1613. I have the two trades here. I got one from Marvel, the other one from Valiant. The one from Valiant is actually a finale for a run. First up, we have the Marvel one. We have Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters. This is technically the third trade for the series. Yep, collecting issues 12 to 17 of the Bounty Hunters ongoing series, written by Ethan Stacks. Yep. Yeah, that's who's the writer of this book. Yeah, mostly put, it's exactly what Valance was up to during the events of War of Bounty Hunters. Like, at one point, basically, we have Dagger. Yes, Dagger, that's him right there. He shows up here. Boba Fett shows up here. Mostly put, it's basically what he was up to when he was not on screen in the main book. Yeah, where he runs the various bounty hunters, still looking for Han Solo, thinking he gets close, but not really. The book ends today at the very next story arc, where you have Valance restored to normal. After being looking like this the whole run, he gets restored to normal. So, Cyborg, he also refers to a cadet. You guys go to a little backstory where he actually knew a particular Imperial cadet who basically, well, he was full of himself and he was tossed aside by the Empire. Yes. And apparently when he was on this particular ship, apparently they didn't realize, oh yeah, that's Valance. Apparently he's the Imperial officer, well, a cadet. And apparently his file was sealed. And the captain of the ship, by the way, who was a black woman, mind you. Yes, a black woman who's a captain of an Imperial starship. Now, I should point out, though, a lot of the time, here's the weird thing, though. The way it's implied in the original EU is that, get this, the Empire was sexist. Why would I mention that? Because here's the thing. They had one admiral who was a woman. One. And the only reason why, this of course was Dala, the only reason why she was an admiral was because she slept with Tarkin. That's the only reason why. And it's interesting, though, we have a black woman being captain of an Imperial Star Destroyer, which, that's interesting, and I gotta say, that's balls in the part of Ethan Stacks. Yeah. Really fun book. Like I said, just explores basically what Valance was up to. I mean, it's nice, the interactions here, and Dagger himself basically just doesn't do much of anything at all, but it's a really fun book. Surprisingly, it's only 6 issues, which is about the same length as the main book. Now here's the thing. For trades-wise, War of the Bounty Hunters, there is also the main Star Wars book, Dr. Aphra, Darth Vader, and a companion book. Yes, the companion book is simply the one-shots related to War of the Bounty Hunters, which focuses on IG-88, Jabba the Hutt, and a few others. Yep. Alright, moving on to a different book, we have the final trade for Rye by Matt Knott. This is 4001 AD. Well, mostly put, it's the issues of the run, basically. They're tied into that particular crossover. I haven't got a chance to enhance the crossover yet, but it is really good. Mostly put, basically, for the storyline for this. Now, I should point out, though, that after issue 12, that's what the book actually ended. And Rye was brought back, this run was simply brought back for this crossover only. And it's only just a few issues, 13 and 16, and that was it. I think that the book itself, if I remember correctly, because I remember reading when it was coming out, that 13 came out like a year after issue 12 came out. It wasn't like a delay, it's because I think they brought it back simply because of the 4001 AD crossover. And this basically, well, this, of course, the artwork here is not done by Clayton Crane this time. Nope. He actually did the opening 12 issues. Yeah, for some reason, there's the Kafu for these last 4 with David Mack on the cover art here. If you're curious, though, why in the world they decided to replace Clayton Crane with this guy, don't know. If I get a chance to make Clayton Crane again, I will ask him. He might have the answer to that question. Yeah, mostly put for this one, you just have debut of a young Rye. Yeah, mostly Puppet the Issue just explores like his backstory and some basically the on how New Japan was formed and the formation of the creation of a new Rai. There's also it's like various other Rais. Here's a female Rai. Yes, a female Rai. Yep. That's mostly put what this book is. Just explores various different Rais. And the book basically just does that. Just explores these various Rais. Here's the actual Rai. That's the real one. Yeah, that's the present day one. Yeah, it explores the rise they had over the course of like several thousand years. And mostly put just him, taking down Father, who was his predecessor as Rai. Mm-hmm. And basically, we just the downfall of New Japan. Mostly, anyways. And just explore just these issues, like, basically, like... And then the book ends, basically, with Death of a Woman. Where, and of course, Rai himself gets transported off New Japan. And he just does whatever afterwards. And this was the end of the run. Yes, there was actually a follow-up to this one called Fallen World, which explores what Rai was up to afterwards, where he grew a full beard, and that led into another ongoing series for Rai done by Dan Abnett, which is still ongoing right now. I have reviewed the first trade for that one, so with this, the first run for Rai under the current era for Valiant is done. It's not very long, we're only about 16 issues. I'm gonna give this book roughly I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I think it's a really good book. Now, I should point out though, yes, this was the technically second or third volume for Rai. Let me take a look here about that, but because I can basically look up on here. Because the current run is quite unique. Now, the previous volume, which was published back in the 90s, that one was only 33 issues. There was a brief period of time from issues 9 to 23 where it was known as Rai and the Future Force. And here's the strange thing, though. There is only one trade that collects this whole run. No, seriously. It's like one trade. If you're curious about the first volume, it just basically... Well, it was a flip book with Magnus Roarfire, which I read. It's really good. This volume here, like, just 12 issues and, like, 16 issues, and that's it. Yeah, here's the release date for between issues 12 and 13. 12 was released in December 2015. 13 was released a little over a few years later. Actually, that was 1 year later. No. It was May 2016, so that is roughly, like, I'd say about 3.5 years later. Yeah, between issues. If you're curious, though, like, why in the world they decided to do this for, don't know. And why in the world, for when they brought this series back, they couldn't bring back the original, the artist for this run, Clayton Crane? Yeah, that honestly, I don't really know why. It's kind of weird. And by the way, the Rai appears in this book is known as Rai X, aka Rai 10. Yes. Now, the thing is, Clayton Crane, who is a really good artist. Now, aside from this book, you're probably thinking, did he work on anything else? Well, he worked on the miniseries 4180, the Bloodshot one-shot for Divinity 3, an issue of Eternal Warrior Volume 2, this of course in the current run, the first issue of Harbinger Wars, a few issues of the run Venditti did for, I think it was it Venditti? I think it was Crystal's Gate. Yeah, it was Crystal's Gate's run for X-Men of War, this book, and that was it. Oh yeah, he also worked on some issues of Shadow Man. Yep, and you might be thinking, okay, like after this book, like what happened next? Well, there is Rai History of the Valiant Universe. That was released about a year later. It was just a one-shot basically exploring Rai's back, like basically how he viewed the universe. Yes, a one-shot. released 1 year later. And then there was the Fallen World miniseries released 2 years later in 2019, roughly about a couple years ago. And then you have the current one, which I have reviewed the first trade for this one. It's surprisingly not very long. It's only about 10 issues. Yes. The last issue came out just 3 months ago. Yep. Do not know why they're taking breaks for this book, but they are. It's kind of weird. Yes, and Danny D'Amato is the writer of this book with Juan Jose RVP. That's who is the artist for this run. And as far as I can tell, it's still the same artist. Yep. But yeah, not much else to say about Rye. This one was really, really good. I do recommend checking it out because it's just a really fun book. Now, the only criticism I have for the main book is that, okay, you bring the book back, but you don't have Clayton Crane do the artwork. But there could be a reason for it. He's working on the 4001, so why would he work on the main tie-in? Who knows? Yes. Now, here's the strange thing, though, when it comes to Clayton Crane. And I should point this out about him. That after this run, well, after like 4001 AD, which came out of years after this, yeah, here's the weird thing about that. That was the last thing he officially worked on as an interior artist. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. That was his most recent thing he worked on. He did work on Shadow Man, the second volume for Shadow Man, but let's see. I think he worked on this one. Let's see. Let's see here. August 2016. So scratch that. The last book he worked on at Valiant was Divinity 3 Commodore Bloodshot. Yeah, that was the last thing he officially worked on for Interior. I kind of forgot he worked on this one. And it came out December 2016, roughly about 5 years ago. Yeah, and that was his last book he worked on. And he hasn't worked on a book since then. You thinking, really? Yeah, he hasn't. Excuse me. Not really sure why he stopped doing interiors for, but he did. Yep. So yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. Next couple of reviews are going to be quite unique, where we got one physical and one digital trade. We'll go back to that, okay? Next video. Bye.